Hey guys, happy Thursday. Welcome to the Man Cave. It's that time of the week again. Uh, we got Tanya hiding back here. I'm supposed to have Chef Eric with us tonight, but he has not arrived yet. I just sent him a text message, and we'll see if he pops in here momentarily. I chatted with Eric yesterday, and he said he'd be able to come on with us tonight, and I sent him the link today, and hopefully he'll be able to get in here with us momentarily. Like I said, I just sent him a text, so we'll see what happens there. But in the meantime, it is Thursday, and I'm gonna have a drink. Tanya, you having a drink tonight?
I'm having a cherry Coke Zero.
All right. I'm gonna get into this Heaven Hill bottled in bond that I like so well tonight. I haven't had a glass of that lately, so we're gonna get a pour, and we'll hang on here for a few minutes and see if Eric's gonna arrive. If he doesn't, I've got plenty of other stuff lined up that we can talk about tonight. So I hope everybody had a good week. Let's see, Scott's with us. Let's see, we got Ryan and Beth, Brian, Scott, and Russ. Excellent. So, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, gang.
Let's see, I heard my phone rattling. He's trying to get in. Let's see.
All right.
Eric's not technically savvy. I sent him the link, and he's working on it. So hopefully he'll be with us in a minute.
Well, that'll be cool.
He says he's trying to figure out how to log in. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
I gave him the link. He'll get. He's been here before. It's just been a
Yeah.
while. It's been a while since I've had him on here. So we'll give him a moment, and hopefully he'll pop in here momentarily. And he'll be here with us. But
Oh,
like I
look who's
said,
here. It's
oh,
Lily.
Lily.
Yeah, that's the whole reason everybody shows up is so they can see
Mhm.
Lily every week.
Yep.
See, Lily comes up for snuggles.
All right. Yeah, we'll definitely cut him some slack.
Yeah.
Yeah. John, you haven't missed anything yet. We're just getting started. I'm waiting on Chef Eric. He's trying to log in.
Oh yeah. Lily's the little purr machine.
Let's see. Hang on. I'm going to give him a hand here. Okay, something's not jiving here. I'm gonna have to. Let me see if I gave him a bad link somehow or another.
Yeah, Beth, Jeff's on the road tonight, so no Jeff tonight, and possibly Eric if we can get him in. Hey, Andrew. So, Andrew, Tristan has a girl that's sweet on him. That's my nephew, my oldest nephew. She lives in Canada. And tonight he said, I've never really thought much about Canada, but I might like to go visit. Oh no, Scott, I totes have the coffee. It's just I was finishing up because I was like grading. My 8 weeks classes are ending, so it's like the great grade-a-getting, and I was grading some stuff. So
That's interesting. Eric's having some trouble getting in. The link I gave him works for me, but it's not working for him. He's going to get his laptop and
okay.
see what's going on there. So it may be just a couple more minutes until until Eric gets here. Cindy, I haven't heard anybody mention anything. Robert, glad you could make it. Brewster.
Scott says it's getting cold in Canada, so come soon. It won't be like if I'm bringing him, it won't be.
Yeah.
It won't be before spring. That's for certain. So it's kind of funny, but yeah, he was like that. Of course, we're still trying to get to Japan, so fingers crossed that we can pull that off.
Brian, I've actually got one. I've got some form of it somewhere around here. I haven't bought a new one, but I've got more Yeti tumblers than I know what to do with. I'm not buying any more under any circumstances. I've got a cabinet full of these things, and but we did get the replacement M30 from the recall. That just arrived this week, in fact, and that's Tanya's cooler, and it's really nice. They've fixed whatever the problem was that they made them recall. But my Yeti M30 was one of the original ones, and you had to fight with it to put stuff in it. It wouldn't stay open by itself, and you had to try to hold it open while you were putting stuff
so
in
true.
and taking stuff out of it. But this new one stays open by itself. Actually, the second generation of them did that too, but not the one we had. Yeah.
Well, so our garlic project, y'all, is doing really fabulous.
Yeah, we planted garlic, and all of it's coming up. So it's going to be, we'll have a nice garlic harvest next summer.
Yeah, I'm
how
hoping
how many cloves of garlic did we plant?
Oh Lord, I don't know.
Yeah,
we have two
there's a
varieties.
bunch.
Those I can tell you, we have two varieties, and we have 2.5 rows of each variety. So, and depending on the variety one was planted about 4 inches apart, and the other one had to be 6 inches apart. So I don't really remember.
Here we go.
I see Chef Eric coming up.
Eric's here, so let's bring him on board. Yeah, they told me that you weren't very tech savvy. I think, in fact, you mentioned it last night.
Yeah, I'm not. You know what? I had to download Safari and figure that out. And
yeah,
John, I made it. Thanks for the invite.
Hey, no problem. Glad you could make it on with us. I enjoyed your live cook last night, but I was wondering if we were going to cook the phone or not. So
yeah, it's hard because you as you know you got one main view and then the other on top, and I'd argue to say that the one on top is the most important. So I really figure out what to do with that. But
these things get hot. They go into that thermal shutdown. I'll give you a tip that you can try with that. Once you have it set up, set it back a little further if you can, and then you can pinch and zoom in.
It's hard because it's in another app you have to download called Big.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's in
so
Big.
It's not just.
And it doesn't let you do the thing. I thought about that. I mean, that'd be ideal. Hey, Miss Tanya,
right.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
We're drinking tonight as usual, Eric. Are you having a drink with us?
I might very well be having a drink with you. I just did dinner for the girls, which was leftover from the cooking class. The butter dip ribeyes, and put them to bed. Read a couple pages. Almost fell asleep myself, and then made it down for. I'm doing a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. I'm finishing a bottle from last night, so nothing.
There you go.
Yeah,
excellent.
What are you on? That looks like a little bourbon, a little whiskey.
Well, I'm into this Heaven Hill tonight. This it's my new favorite bottle that's less than $50.
You don't need to spend $50 to get a good bottle these days.
No, you don't.
I know it prices up on everything, but there's some great values out there. There really are.
Well, I've been learning in the last year or so what bottles are out there that I like that are less expensive, and I've got a handful of them. Like the Wild Turkey 101's really good, and it's $29. And or here in North Carolina, it's $29. and I've come across a few others that are definite keepers in that price range. So, all right, Tanya, we'll bring you back in a little bit. But yeah, Chef, I really enjoy. I always enjoy those live cooks. I try to sign up for them when I can, when they're at a time where I can be there. I don't think those things have a replay available, do they?
They do. So when you actually watch the video, it sends you a survey right after the video's done, or right after the live class is done, and it's got a way to play it back.
Okay. Well, last night I had to log out probably 5 minutes before the end of it, and I don't think I got a survey.
Oh, well.
Does it send it if you log out early?
You know, I'm not the tech guy, but I know who to ask. I'll get back to you.
It's not a big deal. I saw everything I needed to see. I've seen you do that process before, like at Atlanta Grill Company and things. You've done several similar things, and it's a really great technique. I really like it. It's just a fun way to cook, and it's fast. You know, like it's hard to show how fast that process is when you're doing your video because you're making video and talking. I know all about how the video process slows everything else down, but in general, that cook you've done there is, you know, from the time you put food on the grill to the time you put it on the table is what, 30 minutes?
It happens relatively quick, especially with the method we did where we split them down lengthwise.
Because those cook a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could take as long as you wanted, but I'm just not a creeping crawl at 225-degree Fahrenheit kind of guy.
Right.
I can't
do
it.
That came up as a question last night. I don't think she posted it for you or called you up on it, but somebody was asking about, you know, why not do 225 or 250 instead of 300 plus on.
It'd be better. It'd be better. You know.
Yeah, but it depends on how fast you want to put dinner on the table.
And that's exactly it. Like I find for my long cooks, even 6 to 8 hour to 10 hour cooks, if they're, you know, if that's applicable, I'm still a 325 guy. I'm not doing anything at 250 degrees, not a single thing out there in the world. Maybe confit. I'll take that back. Maybe if I'm cooking pork belly in its own fat and letting it simmer in there, because we all know 212 is boiling, right? So if you're using something liquidous, you don't want to boil it. So if I'm doing something in a bunch of fat for a 3 hour period of time, that's the only time I'll do a lower temp that I can think of.
But that's an awesome process, and I enjoyed it. So guys, you have to kind of keep up. If you're not on Kamado Joe's mailing list, you want to get on it, if nothing more than for these, because they send out when Eric's going to do one of these live cooks that you can log into and watch and interact real time. The only way to know about those is to be on that Kamado Joe mailing list, and they'll send them out. And Eric, is there still a limited number of people that can participate, or is it?
I'll be honest with you. I think we had close to 600 on last night.
It's big.
But it's free to sign up, right? So it's one of those things where everybody in the world signs up, and then you get 50% attendance. You know,
right?
It's just free. So I
get on that mailing list, because it's fun just to watch. Because Eric's doing the cooking. He'll have 2 cameras set up. One will be set up on Eric and his prep table, and another one on the grill. And what's the young lady's name that hosts with you on that?
So it's been Michelle who works on the marketing team, but last night was Bailey for the first time, and she knocked it out of the park. She did a great job. It's so much better to have a moderator, so I'm not paying attention to the screen. I can
It's the exact same thing. That's why Tanya helps me with this stuff. Tanya can keep up with the comments and questions that I need to be paying attention to that I can't while I'm running my mouth. It's easy to let them. It's easy to miss them, but Tanya doesn't let me miss any of that stuff. But anyway, let's talk about cooking a little bit. One of the things I want to mention, one more thing about your live stream last night, that you did something and said something last night that just smacked me all over, and I want to ask you. No, it's not bad. It's just it goes in the face of everything I've always done. And I want to ask you about this. I like cooking vegetables on the grill. Tanya and I will throw green beans on the grill just like you did all the time, but I toss mine in oil and in seasoning before I go to the grill. You toss yours on there naked and then season after. Talk to me about that.
Just it sticks in my mind. Like, you know what? Why do we oil a piece of fish before we put it on the grill? Well, so it won't stick, of course, right?
Right.
I promise you, no fibrous vegetable out there, is going to stick to the grill, especially if you're not slicing it open and revealing more moisture content, So something that's already husked, if you will, the bean or the legume family, a green bean, for instance, that we did last night, or even something like an asparagus, it's not going to stick to the grill. So it doesn't behoove us, in my mind, to put oil on it when that oil is going to coat our taste buds and we're not going to taste the natural sugars of that vegetable. Like,
okay,
I'm
that
all
makes sense.
Yeah. So now if you're doing something like a zucchini and you've split it, well, perhaps there's an argument there, that it would stick if you're at a lower temperature.
Well, green beans are one of the most common vegetables that I cook. I cook a lot of those, and I cook them a lot of different ways, but it's never beyond me to do just like you did and throw them opposite the direction of the grill grates right over the fire. But
that's another thing, right? I see people doing it with the grill grates. I'm like, man,
they don't last long when you do that.
I even lose a couple when I do it against the grill.
I do too, but that's okay because it's kind of like throwing an onion on the fire. I do that sometimes just so everybody in the neighborhood knows I'm cooking.
I would be hard pressed to find something that I enjoy better than a charred caramelized onion. I mean, it is firing on all cylinders.
Yep.
The sugar content, the bitterness, I know
the nice brown caramelization with it black around the edges.
Yes, goes well with anything. We all know steak and onions, but I did shrimp and onions the other day on the grill, and it was just fabulous, just fabulous.
Right. But that was one of the things I definitely wanted to ask about because I've never tried that before. If I'm not throwing my vegetables on the grill like that, I'm putting them on a sheet pan under a broiler. Would you do the same thing if you were going to go with a broiler?
Yeah, I think so. Broiler is extremely hot heat from above. So
right
at that point, we're talking thin vegetables, especially the more fibrous they are, the thinner we've got to go. And we've got to make sure that it's something that's unifiedly thick and fibrous as well. So like a broccoli, for instance, in a broiler isn't going to work because you got the stem unless you blanched it with heat or liquid ahead of time.
I got some broccoli I did this week. I want to show you tonight because one of the things I'm hoping to do tonight is have you critique some of the things I've done this week.
I don't know if I'll critique it, but I'll tell you what I like. Broccoli on the grill is one of my absolute favorites. John, you're a North Carolina guy. How many church anthems have you read that have the broccoli salad that's got the mayonnaise, the bacon, the mandarin oranges? Well, I've been doing that with a little bit of soy sauce on the broccoli florets, doing it semi-indirect with the stem down. I cut them down and then take them off and toss them with slivered almonds. And I don't do the mayonnaise, but a little soy sauce, slivered almonds, craisins, and mandarin oranges. And golly, that is a great grilled item. And then whatever you got left over from the grill, chopped up pork tenderloin in that, masterpiece.
That sounds amazing. It sure does. All right, to start out with, do you like pumpkin?
I like carving pumpkins. I don't know if I like eating pumpkins so much. I'm not a pumpkin coffee guy. I tell you that. What do you got?
Well, Tanya and I grew some free range pumpkins this year.
That's awesome.
Because I like to make pumpkin puree from scratch occasionally, and we grew some of these sugar pumpkins to do that with this year. And I just went through a real simple process on these. I topped it, sliced it down the middle, and cored it out. And I put these guys face down on some sheet pans on parchment paper, and then I just tossed them in one of the smokers out here at 400 degrees for about 45 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And in that amount of time, these guys get insanely soft, and the skin just comes to the point where you can just peel it mostly off in one piece.
Wow.
And then I toss that into a mixing bowl, and then it goes into the food processor.
Beautiful.
And from there, I put it in a, let me see if I can remember what this thing is called, a chinois.
Chinois. You got
chinois.
it.
Is that correct?
Okay.
Yeah. It's a fine mesh strainer to those of us down here in the South.
Now,
but I let that sit there for several hours to let, some of the extra liquid run off. And then I end up with really nice pumpkin puree. And it's hard to justify sometimes maybe the work involved in making pumpkin puree from scratch as opposed to buying pumpkin puree in a can.
Well, that looks different to me. That looks
it is different.
Your fuel source is your secret ingredient there. Mm-hmm. I think you're onto something here. And I do butternut squash quite a bit, right?
Right. This puree, if you put this side by side with the canned stuff, this is a lighter orange color. It's a much lighter in color. It doesn't have that dark orangish red color that you get out of the canned stuff. And some of the reading I did before I did this year, I guess it's the FDA or the USDA or somebody has some guidelines set for what you can call 100% pumpkin. And when it says 100% pumpkin on those cans, that doesn't mean it's a pumpkin like the one in the picture I showed you. It could be several different varieties of squash as well, and they can still call it pumpkin. But if you put that side by side with this and taste the two, there's all the difference in the world. This stuff right here tastes so much better, and it's sweeter than what's in the can. So
sweeter. How about that?
It is. It's got a sweetness, additional sweetness to it that's not so much in the canned stuff. But I like to do stuff. I haven't figured out, anything I can really do on the grill, on typical grilling stuff to incorporate pumpkin. But I made my pumpkin pound cake again with it. This is a recipe that I've been making for a while. This pound cake doesn't have a whole lot of that pumpkin puree in it. It's only got like 3/4 of a cup, but it's got the spices that make up what's a traditional pumpkin spice. It's got cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, allspice. What am I missing? Cinnamon. Those, those things that make up the typical pumpkin spice, and it's a really nice cake. But this year I also tried pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, and these guys cook. Cookies are outside of my wheelhouse by a pretty long way. So I went to whenever I need a baking recipe that I don't have, I go to the King Arthur website, and I made their recipe. I left out the nuts because I don't eat nuts in cookies, and this also called for orange zest, and I didn't have an orange. And I really wish I had, because I think the orange zest would have made a beautiful addition to that. But I just wanted to ask you about pumpkin and see if you have any cool ideas of things that could be done on a grill and using pumpkin or pumpkin puree. What would be the thing to do with that?
Well, I think before you even I think you end up with a puree. But what I like to do is, I'll cut it in half and then roast it with, sometimes some apple cider, put a couple cloves on there and roast it on a half sheet tray and let it cook and soften up, stab it a couple times on the outside so it gets soft. And then as soon as you can take off that shell, just like you did, scoop it out with a spoon, grill off some onions, some carrots, and some celery, and some apples. And I'm not really talking about making them soft necessarily at first. Just get some char on there, right? Get some grill flavor on there,
right?
And then you're gonna take it and puree the apples, the carrots, the celery, and the pumpkin all together.
Okay.
And
that makes sense.
Yeah. So you've got your mirepoix there. You're making, and where I'm going with this is a beautiful soup. I am a soup fanatic, and you can find these little gourds that you can cook till they're semi-soft and scoop them out a little bit and fill the soup up with them, and they make the perfect servers
presentation.
With the apples to sweeten it up. Sounds like the sweet pumpkin, the sugar pumpkins don't need the apples, so cut the apple.
Well, could you toss a Granny Smith in there?
Yeah, toss a Granny Smith in. You know what else I'd toss in there? I'd hit a little bit of just a slight bit of vanilla bean in there, and a little bit of port, a tawny port, to kind of bloom things out.
Okay. So you're making a pumpkin soup out of this?
I might even throw a little curry in there, and I might even use a little coconut milk.
So to get the soup consistency, what are you thinning it? What are you thinning this with? Coconut milk.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you want to really go over the top with this coconut flavor, but still accentuate the pumpkin, Coco Lopez. Those of you who are familiar with pina coladas know this blue can. I can go get one real quick. It's one of my secret weapons to mix with peanut butter. But Coco Lopez is just this thick, sweetened coconut milk that just drives people crazy. It's one of my secret ingredients. And it's great with pumpkins or gourds in general.
So we'll use the standard mirepoix ingredients with some apple.
Curry in there.
Curry. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe you put the curry on the vegetables before you grill them. That way it's toasting off at the same time.
Okay. Well, that sounds definitely like something I'll put on the agenda for next fall, because I learned a little bit about growing pumpkins this year. I learned when they need to be taken off the vine, because some of mine didn't come off the vine soon enough. And we're going to try it again. So that makes sense. Another thing I've done on the grill before is I have made pumpkin cheesecake and pumpkin pies. I've done the pumpkin cheesecake and pumpkin pies on the Kamado Joe's multiple times. And it's a great way to cook a cheesecake or a pumpkin pie. You need a clean grill. Don't add smoking wood, and don't cook in a grill that you just cooked a brisket in. You don't want any unnecessary smoke for a project like that.
It gets very acrid, doesn't it?
Right.
It gets very acrid very quick. Just the grill itself with the natural lump charcoal is enough to give it the essence of grilled.
Well, I don't know if I've told you this yet, Eric. I've got two Kamado Joe Classics outside, and I've got the Classic 2 and the Classic 3, and I've dedicated my Classic 2 to everything but meat. So it's my baking grill. It's always clean. I'm never going to have grease residue in that grill, because I don't cook meat in that grill anymore. And it's perfect for pizzas. It's perfect I could have done these cookies, and I didn't do the cookies on the grill. I did them in the oven. Since it was the first time I tried that recipe, I didn't want any variables in it that I couldn't control or couldn't control easily. So not that I can't control a grill. I'm making myself sound bad here, but
not at all. And I completely agree with you. And I think we put so much pressure on ourselves, especially content creators, to make everything off the grill. I'll tell you, if you're doing something inside and you grill a couple of the ingredients, and that's your pizzazz, that's your secret bit there, good on you. You know what I mean?
And somebody asked about the pumpkin having a smoky flavor. In this case, it did not, because of the way I did mine. I had mine face side down, because one of the objectives I had of having that face down on that parchment paper is I wanted some of that char and caramelization on that face of the pumpkin to make it into my puree. And I got a little bit of that. I didn't get as much as I would like. I think next time I'm going to run it a little hotter. And see if I can get that, or I might preheat my sheet pan and see if
Yeah.
I can promote that a little bit, because that little bit of Maillard reaction that happens on that pumpkin's that's in the pumpkin puree, and that's something you'll not find that in a canned pumpkin puree.
That
So
that pumpkin puree too seems a lot thicker in the can.
it is thicker, and
Yeah,
it is thicker. The
just
homemade stuff
fibrous.
is a little more watery. You can, if you want to go to the length to do it, you can get this almost that thick, but you have to wrap it up in cheesecloth and kind of wring it.
I don't think I want it that thick. I think I prefer what
Right.
you did. You
Well,
know,
I like it too, but if you're using it, if you're using it in a
baking.
recipe where water content is important, you have to make some very minor adjustments. Like the cake, for instance, uh, I back down just slightly on the other liquids that go in there, maybe just by a tablespoon or two, not a whole lot.
Yeah,
But
just
I like my pound cakes to come out as specific consistency, and the only way to do it is if the wet and dry ratios are the same every time.
some of those things that call for cream cheese. You can whip them into the purees into cream cheese and not have to
Mhm.
adjust at all, which
Right.
is nice too.
So yeah, but so there we have pumpkin. It's that time of year. A lot of people are thinking about pumpkin. There's a lot of people that like cooking with pumpkin. So I've been playing with it. I'm writing a monthly column for our local newspaper now, and I talked
Yeah.
about pumpkin for the first. I get published the first Saturday in October, so I wrote this month's column on pumpkin, and the written part of my column, I talked about the process of making your homemade pumpkin puree as opposed to doing it canned. And I gave them 4 recipes. I gave them the 2 I just showed you here, the pumpkin chocolate chip, or no, I didn't give them the chocolate chip cookies. I gave them the chocolate chip cookies. I gave them the pumpkin pound cake. I gave them my pumpkin cream cheese pumpkin pie, and I
Ooh.
gave them the roasted pumpkin seeds. Because
What I like about all those that you just listed are things that I would try at home. They're
right,
approachable. They're not your average, your average blogger trying to flex their culinary muscle.
right,
That's something I'm gonna clip that article out and I'm gonna make it. It's gonna be
yeah.
hanging on the refrigerator for 4 months, and I'm gonna make it.
Exactly. That's one of the things that I thrive on, and I'm sure you're well aware of that. And you say it quite frequently, and it's a mantra that everybody needs to think about. And it's the simple things done well win every time. And
Every time.
that's it's just I don't know, if passion is an ingredient, everything I make is going to be good, right?
That's right.
So,
That's right.
and it's just one of those things. I don't. I've done some things in my past on social media that are complex cooks and complicated, but I don't do it that often, and it pays off, I think, in the long run. And I like I like to not put anything out that I obviously it's not something that I wouldn't try myself, but I like the easier stuff is more popular in a lot of contexts. So the next thing I want your critique on this, because I need help on this. This is something I've never done before. Okay, Stephen Hickey. Okay,
Absolutely.
He's been a while back. He did this thing in the Kamado Joe Facebook group called the KJ Cookery, and he's working on reviving that, where he sets up a little event where
Cornish game hens. Cornish game hens coming up.
Yes, that's it. That's the one we're getting ready to look at. So you've seen it. So, and I've not done Cornish game hens before, so I went shopping. He wanted, and the objective of this is a quick, non-complicated, like a weeknight meal sort of thing. So, this is the only Cornish game hens I had access to.
Yeah, perfect.
So I bought 2 of these, and he wanted them spatchcocked. He wanted to do spatchcocked, and he was very specific about that. So this Cornish game hen that I unwrapped and dried off here is just shy of 1.5 pounds, which is that about a typical size for one of these, or is that large?
That's a little large, even. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they run pretty small. Think about a very small chicken.
Well, these things. One of the things I find when I'm buying poultry from these big poultry processing places like Tyson, they're always big. It's like the chickens, the whole chickens at the grocery store, are 6, 7, and 8 pounds instead of the 4-pounders that I really like. They're hard to come by.
This is a little larger, but it's different than a quail. So
Right.
it's in between a quail and a chicken. So that's fine.
So, I just drive this thing off like I normally would with a chicken. At this point, it doesn't really matter. But then I cut the backbone out because we want a spatchcock. So I took a sharp knife and just went straight down both sides of the spine and pulled it out. And here, this part right here is something I can't make up my mind on when it comes to spatchcock. Number one, I typically don't like doing spatchcock. I would rather cook whole or break it all the way down into pieces. But this keel bone or the breastbone or whatever you want to call it in poultry, I sliced that guy. I cut about a 1-inch slice down that because that makes it lay flat. It makes it real easy to pop it and flatten this guy out. But I also, in the past, Chef, when you spatchcock, would you just not go ahead and take the keel bone out at this point, or would you leave it in there?
I don't take the time to take it out. It makes complete sense to go ahead and take it out though. But I use the heel of my knife, and especially on a turkey, which is more fiber, I call it fibrous. It's harder to break out than a chicken.
Right.
I'll knock it on one side, then the other, and then flatten it down.
Well, when you have the guy open like this, like we're looking at right here, you can see the outline of this keel bone. It runs straight down, and if you take your knife and slice right around the edge of that thing all the way around, you can reach down there and pinch in the middle of it and yank that guy right out.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to pull it. It takes a tug to get it out, but when you've got that guy out, half of that thing when you're done is just a quick slice down through there with the knife. You don't have to worry about it. And I can't ever make up my mind whether it's the right thing to do to take it out here or to take it or here. If you're going to half this guy, you're going to serve that on the plate. The plate's going to get the keel bone, but I would rather, I don't know. So you're undecided on whether you leave it.
No. The keel bone's coming out, but it's generally coming out after the cook, and it's a pain to work around because it's in there and it's
Right.
so I hear you full heartedly, but we cook the spatchcock, the other way down. So what we're looking at is what's touching the grill grates here. Sometimes on a larger bird, that keel bone helps radiate that heat to get the temperature, because your legs and thighs cook quicker than your breast meat, unless you're banking your charcoal.
Now that brings up a question. Would that hold true on a Cornish hen? Because the breasts on this guy are pretty small.
They're pretty small. That would be the opposite on this guy. And in fact, I would use the heel of my knife and knock off the ankle bones there, and that's going to allow the skin to pull back the meat a little bit and make it a little thicker, closer to the body as it Frenches itself.
That makes sense. That's something I've never done either. I've never taken the ankles off, and that's probably a good idea.
You chip your knife though. I mean, don't use Japanese steel.
I've got a cleaver.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got the tools, so that's not going to be a problem. Yeah, and I would not use I don't use the Japanese steel when I'm breaking down a bird.
John, I did 80 turkeys, and I used a shun, and the first 3, I had 3 chips in my beautiful blue carbon steel shun. I sent that thing back to him after 80 turkeys, and I got a phone call. They were
those knives are beautiful, but they are brittle. That is some really brittle steel for sure.
Yeah.
But this is where I'm starting, and my preference, I didn't do it on this. My preference is I'm going to take the wingtips off usually as well, because they're not going to be edible and they're not going to do anything but char. And I like to throw the wingtips in a bag in the freezer that I'm going to use if I'm going to make stock down the road. So
a lot of gelatin. I use the wingtips to give me that half Nelson, because you need it to, and that gives it more access to the heat to the side breast meat.
Well, that makes sense. And as you can see in this picture here, I trimmed just a little bit of edge fat around to clean it up just a little bit. And then my next step here is I don't want to call it trailer park. I want to call it backyard quick and dirty. I put it in my vacuum seal bag, and the secret ingredient. I love marinating poultry in Zesty Craft Italian dressing, and it's cheap. I like the flavor I get out of it, and I thought this was pretty well in line with what Stephen was trying to accomplish with the KJ Cookery project. I put about a half a cup of that in this vacuum seal bag. I vacuum sealed it, tossed it in the refrigerator, and let this guy ride overnight in that.
You knock those ankles off, and you're getting more into those thighs too.
Right, I agree. And also, what I would hindsight, I would have sucked some of that up into my meat injector and just injected it under the skin of the bird.
John, I did butter underneath the skin this year on a turkey for a video versus injecting, which I always inject butter. So the only thing I really ever inject is butter into a turkey.
Right.
I missed the injection. I as soon as I took a bite, I was like, I should have injected that bird.
That's what I like to do that with turkey too. But I season my butter though with garlic and onion and thyme.
John, last year I didn't shoot this video. I made it done it on an Instagram post or something, but I haven't shot the video. I went ahead and made gravy and then injected a 12-pound bird with a pint full of gravy.
Holy crap.
And sure enough, I'm slicing into it and it's just gravy pouring everywhere and everybody's going nuts. It was really good.
I bet it was.
Good. Yeah.
So I decided to do broccoli to serve with this Cornish game hen. So I got a whole head of, well, it was a rather small head because I knew I'm eating by myself on this meal. So I cut the florets off the head of broccoli. And this is something I think I might be the only person on the planet that does this. I made a saltwater brine, and I put my broccoli in cold saltwater brine for about an hour. And
okay.
So while that's brining, I don't use garlic. I use my microplane grater to mince garlic cloves, and I've got some unsalted butter there. Like you said last night, never salted butter, always unsalted. And I melted my butter and I put that minced garlic in there.
Oh yeah.
And after my brine, I drained it off and I tossed the broccoli in the melted butter and garlic. And then this is the first time I've used this pan, this perforated carbon steel half moon, but I let the pan get good and hot. And then we just dumped that broccoli in there, and I played with it. I kept it over the heat, and of course, since I've got that butter on there, I'm getting some flame that's coming up through the holes in that pan and kissing my garlic and giving me a little bit of char here and there. And with your heat-resistant gloves, you can pick that pan up and toss that stuff and let it
like a saute pan or a wok almost.
Right, and once the broccoli got to where I was happy with what it was looking like and not completely cooked, I moved it off to the opposite side of the grill and then tossed on the Cornish hen. And I did not rinse this guy. I didn't do anything. I left that Italian dressing just like it was. And I think people call this a keep it flipping or keep it moving. I flipped this guy fairly constantly throughout this cook, and until I got the outside of that bird looking like I wanted it. And this, some people will look at that bird and they'll say it's charred, it's burnt, but this is when I'm cooking chicken over direct coals, this is what I'm looking for, and this is,
That's barbecue
in
chicken.
my opinion, it's darn near perfect.
Yeah.
That's where I like mine.
You might even baste with some of that extra marinade as you go.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
So,
anybody who would say that's burn is out of their mind. All right.
I took a slice off of the breast part while it was still whole before I broke this guy into pieces, and this breast, I was up. That breast temperature at this stage right here was up around 170 on this bird.
I was gonna guess 150. There you go. 170. I mean, towards the center, because that looks perfect right there. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Typically when I'm cooking poultry, I never let mine stay on the grill longer than 150. And in a lot of cases, I'll pull it off at 145 because I'm going to get a 15-degree coast if I've been cooking over direct coals. And
you got those bones in there that continue to radiate. So me personally, I'd have done the broccoli second. What that cook took you what, 45 minutes, 45 minutes, a little less?
No, less than 30.
Yeah, okay.
From the time I put food on the fire, I was less than 30 minutes till I was done. And I wasn't sure how long the game hen was going to take. So that's why I went ahead and cooked the broccoli first, because I know I could keep the broccoli warm after I got it where I wanted it. But I didn't want the chicken sitting around for an extended period of time. But now that you mentioned that, I could have wrapped that chicken in foil and done the broccoli.
You got to let it rest. You got to let it rest.
Yeah. Right.
So I do protein first, and then while it rests, I take advantage of my coals for my sides.
So that would be a better solution for this, because that broccoli cook is 5 to 8 minutes, somewhere along in there. It's fast.
You can even take it slower and sneak it over there on the indirect side the last 5-10 minutes of the cook, stem down on the indirect side, let some of those chicken drippings drip down, caramelize on the coals, and now you're smoking your broccoli with your chicken drippings. Poultry drippings, you know. Hey, my computer's about to die because I wasn't planning on using this. I was planning on using my phone. Let me run upstairs and get my charger. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay, yeah, no problem. But yeah, guys, if you're not following if you're in the Kamado Joe Grilling, Smoking, and More Facebook group, hit the events tab on there and look, because Steven's going to start. He's restarting this KJ Cookery thing, and I don't know exactly how frequently it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be weekly or every other week. I think it may be every other week, because I wasn't able to participate in it the last time he did it, so I don't know exactly what the timeline is, but I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to participate in most of them. And when I was talking to Steven about this, he says, I know you're not going to like this first one because I want to do spatchcock. He knows I don't like doing spatchcock, but for a game hen like that, for the Cornish game hen, I absolutely think spatchcock's probably the best solution, because that bird's too small to break down into individual pieces to cook. It's going to be a better cook to cook the Cornish game hen either whole or spatchcock rather than breaking it down. But when it comes to chicken, I like to break my chicken down into 4 pieces. I like 2 breast halves and 2 leg quarters, and then you got wings if you're going to cook them. But Eric, I was just talking about spatchcock being probably the really right way to cook a game hen.
A game hen, either you're stuffing it or you're spatchcocking it. Either way, you're taking out the air gap in the center.
Right.
You're increasing flavor profile. You're decreasing cooking time. And if you're putting anything in the center of it, of course, that's going to increase cooking time. But you want something that will perfume throughout.
Okay.
Something in the allium family or something in the citrus family.
Okay, you've brought up something else that I've been wanting to do that I've never got on the ball and made happen. Talking about stuffing it, I need to take the time and energy to learn how to quickly and efficiently and properly debone a whole bird, because that the game hen would be a perfect bird to debone and do what does Jacques Pepin call it? What's what he does called the when he stuffs the chicken I can't remember what the French term is that he calls that.
Well, you make galantines and ballantines.
That's it, galantine. Yeah. He's
so
got videos.
Galantine still has the skin on it. A ballantine does not necessarily.
Okay, yeah, the one I've seen his video of over and over again is skin on. He debones a whole chicken, and when you watch him do it, he makes it look so easy. And I've only attempted this once, and the day that I decided to attempt it, Eric, I did not have a chicken. I had a duck, so I deboned the duck. And after deboning that duck, I think I worked a little harder on that than I would have if I was doing a chicken.
A million times harder. Don't give up on it. Everybody should. This is a culinary skill that you need to master. It'll take you 4 birds to do over the course of a year. But like boning out a bird, pounding it, saran wrap on top of it, pounding it with a rolling pin so that all that is now, or all the meat is covered, all the skin is on the bottom, and then putting, prosciutto, fontina cheese, sage, and rolling it tight, and then oh my gosh, yes, I've done that video. Nobody in the world did it, so what was the point? But I had it as a classically trained French chef. I had to do it, and I've learned a lot from watching your videos. Like, Eric, quit making restaurant stuff. Nobody's going to do a freaking 4-hour prep time at home.
Well, it's not that. Some will.
No.
But speaking of this stuffed chicken, now Jacques Pepin, he left the knuckles down there and left the knuckles on because I'm not sure what the reasoning was on his stuffed chicken, but it looked good.
He must have piped something in there and didn't want.
I don't think he did. I don't think he piped anything in there, but maybe, I don't know. But he left the knuckles on.
Nature, once you get it opened up, nature gives you a roadmap, and so as long as your hands aren't too cold, so you can feel if you cut yourself,
right.
You can take most bones and pull through the meat like a sock, and then you just use a scraping motion with the side of the knife, the edge of the knife down the bone, and it pulls out, and so it's very simple once you have done it with someone who can show you how to do it easily.
Right. I've watched now for that you're right about that. There's a lot to be learned by letting somebody who knows what they're doing show you.
And a demo.
Hands-on demo. Hands-on I don't have yet. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on it, and you would not believe how many different approaches there are. There are a lot of different methods, and some of them, when you're watching the video, look easier than others, but they might not be when you actually get on there and start doing it. But I'm going to do this because one of the things I would like to do, you did video on this, and I think it's on the KJ channel. You deboned a turkey and did a stuffed turkey, or was it a breast?
It was for Thanksgiving. It was a turkey. It was a turkey roulade.
Yes, and you deboned that bird, and I'm sitting there watching that video, and I was cussing one side down there. I said, "That sucker!" I said, "I wish I need to learn how to do this, because it seems to me like it for people like us who are backyard pit masters, that needs to be part of our arsenal." That
is a great point. I couldn't agree. Thinking about, okay, what do we need to learn backyard wise? That is such a fun skill set to have. And there's a primalness to it that's really cool. So you might not be into like hunting game and hanging a deer up and breaking it down, or like pulling the jacket off a squirrel or whatever, but to take a chicken, which you're used to having poultry in house anyway, and be able to have your way with deboning it, and then now you've just got this blank canvas of deliciousness. It is It's so fun. It's an art. Yeah, I'm with you, John. I'm glad you brought that up.
I did work too hard to get the duck deboned, but I made duck l'orange from those breasts, and that's something that I love. And I made candied orange peel with a little cayenne pepper to
Yes.
so I no, I did not come up with that on my own either. A local restaurant that Tanya and I used to like that's actually didn't survive the pandemic, unfortunately. I had that dish there one time. They had duck l'orange as a special one night we were in there, so I ordered it, and the chef had candied orange peel and put cayenne pepper. Just not to make it spicy. It was what I call that wake up cayenne pepper. You know it's there, but it's not hot and spicy. So it was really really good. So
yeah.
Janice wants to know what's the right kind of knife for deboning a chicken.
I would say I don't have one on the wall right now, but a curved boning knife.
I've got two. Let me show you what I use.
Yeah.
But the curved one or the flexible one, both.
Yeah, I'm looking at the flexible one.
These are the two knives I use for deboning.
There you are.
These are both, I guess, 6 or 7 inch blades. These are both the Victorinox. These are very inexpensive knives, but these are some of what I use. One of these blades is a lot more flexible than the other one, and the flexible nature of that blade, I think, is a plus when you're gonna debone chicken. But when you watch Jacques Pepin's video on deboning a chicken, he says that one of the mistakes most people make is using a knife too much. If you follow him, there's not a whole lot of cutting that really has to be done. You just have to know where you're going to be pulling things apart. There's only a few cuts that have to be made, but the backbone's coming out.
The backbone's coming out. You've essentially spatchcocked it. You know, and
you're going to have to use a blade to do that. You can use your poultry shears, you can use culinary shears, or I find most of the time with a chicken, just my chef's knife, one of the German steel chef's knives will come right down through the backbone of that thing and take it right out. So but yeah, this is something I'm gonna make sure that now that I've talked about it again, I'm gonna get that in my wheelhouse within the next couple of months.
Let's do one together.
That's something else I wanted to ask you. We haven't cooked together in a long time, and if you're gonna do it next time, if you know far enough in advance when you're gonna do another live cook, if you can give me a heads up on it, I'd love to come cook with you, and I'd be more than willing to drive out there and do a live cook with you one night, and do something fun.
No, yeah, I'd love to get together and do something. You know, my travels have been taking me far and wide. I'd love to do something.
I noticed that. Did the family go to Australia this summer?
Oh yeah.
I saw some pictures from that. Looks like you guys had a blast.
We waited for school to start up, and then we said, "Hey, we're gonna dip out for a couple weeks." You know, and got educational purposes. You know, excused absences, whatever. But no, I had some work to take care of in a couple of events in Brisbane and in on the Gold Coast. And so I got there like 4 or 5 days earlier, did an event or two, and then the family joined me, and then we just went up north, you know, surfing all over the place. You know, Byron Bay, the girls are surfing, and there's whales putting on a show.
Was that the first time the rest of your family had been to Australia?
It is. So the girls are now 8 and 12 and able to carry their own bags. That was always my thing. Show me you can hustle through the airport with your own bag and you're in. You know, I'll buy your ticket. And so they came and John, it was just real special. You know, we were on a liveaboard boat for a couple of days, couple of nights out on the Great Barrier Reef, scuba diving with sharks, doing night dives and stuff.
So you're up on the northeast coast of Australia.
And then we went even further north into Port Douglas, which is way up there. Crocodile infested beaches, Irukandji. So there's a 4 kilometer long beach. and there's a spot about 15 yards where you're allowed to swim that's netted. That the crocodiles can't get you, and the box jellyfish.
So you guys, when your wheels down in Australia, you've put some miles on, because that's a huge country.
Yeah.
Where did you fly into for that trip? Brisbane?
Yeah, I flew into Brisbane, but I had the family fly into Gold Coast, which is only about a mile an hour away or so. And then we went from Brisbane to dude, I don't even know. It's been, we got a couple of, we're going to do Sweden and Norway for Christmas, which is exciting.
You're going to hook up with Bjorn while you're out there?
I should. I'm going to do some salmon work while I'm up there and some KJ work while I'm up there. And
let Bjorn introduce the ladies in your life to heavy metal.
He took me to a heavy metal bar last time I was in Stockholm. And Bjorn doesn't say a thing. He just kind of wins you over with his general appeal and his cooking, his meatballs, his Swedish meatballs. I'd love to link up with that guy again. Talk about a Kamado legend.
I've got to figure out how I can get him on here with me one night, because it's 2 a.m. or something in Sweden.
6 hour difference.
Yeah.
You're was it Cinnabon cook with him, or was it the
I cooked his cinnamon roll recipe. I sure did.
Yeah,
I did.
And it had his picture up there, and then that was one of my favorite ones you done, man. That was lovely.
I remember the first time I noticed Bjorn, and in fact, I think you were with me at Kamado Joe in Duluth when I was telling Bobby about this guy. I said, we need to get this guy some equipment.
Like, we got an electrician in Sweden, definitely a metal guy that's killing it on the pizzas. Yeah.
Yes, he was. And Bobby couldn't make that happen fast enough. He said, get a hold of him, find out what he'd like to have. So we did, and Bjorn's been going ever since. I mean, he's the guys. I've obviously not met him, and I've not actually talked to him face to face. I know you've been on the road with him, so
I spent some time with him. I feel like you know him extremely well, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's very quiet. He doesn't have a lot to say, but he's one of these people, I guess, that when he does say something, you better pay attention.
Bobby said it best. We're at Spoga in Germany, like the largest outdoor trade fair in Germany, and we're destroying the competition. Throwing a block party, got a DJ pairing music with food. We got kegs going. And Bobby pulls me aside. He sees me working like a madman. He's like, you got to say a lot to kind of act cool and keep up this persona. But Bjorn over there, he's just sitting there smoking a cigarette. He's like, this guy doesn't have to do anything, and he's amazing. And I'm like, all right, Bobby, thanks.
Well, it's like Roll. When I first met him, when he first started making video content, he was cooking on a big green egg or something. I don't remember what he started out on, but I asked him. I had become friends with him online and chatted back and forth with him here and there. But I said, you need to come online and be on your videos. And he told me, he says, I'm afraid to do that because of my accent. And he says, I'm afraid people won't like my accent. And I said, Bjorn, your accent's what's going to sell you in the U.S. I said, they're going to love you. You just got to get on there and do it. And he's got huge. I don't know how big his channel is now, but it's crazy.
It's doing well. Same thing with Pitmaster X.
That's who we're talking about. Rule.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were still talking about Bjorn. Yeah. No, he is the largest barbecue YouTuber in Europe, all of Europe.
Yeah. Right.
He's done real well with it, and I couldn't think of a.
But he just think about that for a second. He didn't want to speak in his videos because he was afraid of people not liking his accent outside of his area.
People were giving him hell in the Netherlands. Norwegians were giving him hell, saying his English isn't good enough.
Because he was doing his content in English. Were they giving him a hard time about that?
Way back when he was doing it in English and first starting out,
his English was fine.
his own stuff. Oh, he's a legend. And
the
now,
first time I heard him speak in a video, I had no trouble whatsoever understanding anything he was trying to get across. Yeah. And it's gotten way better since then.
I mean, he's probably speaks better English than half the folks in North Carolina.
Yeah, more than half. Than half.
Have you ever had this problem when you're shooting videos, like, perhaps you're close enough to a neighbor and they start, mowing a lawn and there goes your audio, or, there's some road work being done.
Yeah, Eric, I live in the noisiest neighborhood in the world. There's a post office across the street from my deck, and there's a flagpole at that post office. And if there's any kind of breeze, that flag line is banging up against the pole, dinging. And on Thursdays, the church across the other streets having their yard work done.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to plan. I went for a 3-week period where there were paving out here where it was every day.
Couldn't do anything with that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, there's always some sort of noise, and it's less if I would do video at night. But I'm a sucker for. I'm adamant about having good light for my videos, so I like to work in the daytime.
Yeah.
Out of direct sunlight, but
yeah,
it is what it is. There's dogs barking. There's
fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
But listen.
Well, it's part of what keeps it real.
Well, no doubt. But I'm there with Pitmaster X at his house, and he shares a fence with a neighbor, and there in the Netherlands, you're pretty much stacked on top of each other. And this guy cannot stand the smell of the grill. And a direct neighbor with Pitmaster X shooting hundreds of videos. And so he perfects a whistle. Pitmaster X called him the Whistler. And anytime he would hear Pitmaster X do his intro, it was a beautiful whistle. He'd just start piping up that whistle and just like killing the auto, walk up and down the side of his fence line, just whistling.
Now, he's moved out in the countryside somewhere now.
Yeah.
He renovated that barn. It's beautiful. He's got to be far enough away that's not a problem anymore.
Now it's not a problem. I slept in that barn, and he got himself a Great Pyrenees, one of those big dogs.
Right. Yeah.
That thing will bite the heck out of you if you don't know. So he's like, but I know better. I grew up in the country, so I got a pocket full of bacon. Anytime that damn dog came near me, it bit me once, and that was it. I'd throw a piece of bacon and I'd run, and I'd make it about a quarter of the way to the fence. And here comes that damn dog again. I'd throw another piece of bacon. I'd have enough to make it there and make it back and have a beer out there. That freaking dog.
Yep.
I hope he sees this. Pitmaster X does. I never talked about that dog because I was a guest, but now I'm back home.
I remember when he got it. I started watching his side channel. That second channel he created. I watched more of that content than I did his actual cooking content.
Yeah.
For the last bit, because the other channel, I know what his cooking skills are like. I mean, I got no.
Yeah, zero.
Yeah, no, he can. You got to give him more credit than that. Now, he's done a lot of great stuff, but he's in a war with Guga. It seems like he's. Well, he used to be. I don't know so much if he is now or not, but the other channel, I get to know Rule. I get to know the man more so than his cooking, and but yeah, he's a lot of fun too. I've never had the opportunity. He's never come to the States to do anything with Kamado Joe, has he?
I saw him in Toronto. Was the closest we hung out.
Yeah.
No, he never has. Now we spent 7 countries together over the course of 2 weeks in a 1974 Jeep Wagoneer.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was incredible times, but it formed a brotherly love that we get to cut each other off the legs all the time. You know what I mean? Which is fun. That's great. It's good to have.
So, well, Chef, we're running slightly long here. I don't want to hold you up. I appreciate you coming on with us. And I can't think of anything else. I mean, I could run questions off of you all night long, because it's one of these situations. Anytime I get somebody like yourself on here, I stand to learn something. And I'm hoping everybody else does too. let me bring Tanya back up in here for a minute because we're getting ready to wrap things up. Or Tanya, is there any questions that that I really need to look at here? She's keeping up with that sort of thing.
Yeah, early on, Cindy was asking where the videos were located for the Kamado Joe live cook.
Those are on my little backyard. I've been threatening to do an outdoor kitchen, but just prices keep going up, and I keep traveling. But that's my little deck on my backyard here in Hillsborough, North Carolina.
No, she's asking about watching replays.
Where it was posted. Like,
and it's a question I asked you. I don't think you can watch them unless you were on the stream to begin with.
I bet we can put that link out, though. John, let me send that to you as a text right now, because it's just a link. I can copy and paste it, you know.
Okay. That'll be good. We'll if those can be rewatched after the fact, that would be good. Or is Kamado Joe posting them on their Facebook page for rewatch?
Not if I'm doing it. Let's see. No, I don't think so. Here it is. All right, I got it. Copy link. John, I'm texting it to you right this second.
Okay. Guys, I'll post that on the Man Cave Meals page on Facebook later tonight or tomorrow, where you can go back and rewatch that. So what else, Tanya? What have we missed that's
I think that was it. Now, I missed some comments, but getting them posted, guys, and I just apologize for that.
That's fine.
But we've got one of our fire detector beeper things is going off, and I thought it was upstairs, and I thought, well, the battery's bad, so I got up on the stool and I changed it, and then I thought it was the one in the hallway. Anyway, I can't find that freaking thing that's beeping. So,
I'm going to have to figure that out.
We're going to have fun afterwards.
Okay, I'll figure that out.
Sorry I missed comments, guys.
My smoke detector is right here on the bar, because if I leave it over on the kitchen side, it's constantly going off.
This was my light tonight. I got an old hurricane lamp, and the wick is no longer in the liquid, and so it started smoking like crazy. I thought I was going to have. Luckily, I don't have an alarm here in my office, or it would have been going pretty good.
Breakfast cook off next week, John?
Yeah, Ryan, Jeff and I will have our breakfast dishes next Thursday. Jeff couldn't be with us tonight because he's on the road. Too bad for Jeff. So
Eric, they want you to do a carbonara video with salmon, please.
Too easy.
Carbonara.
It's one of my favorites. You know,
I don't know.
You just gotta pull it off the heat, so you're not making scrambled eggs. Good to go.
Yep. All right.
Good pancetta. I've seen that pork butt you had. How'd that turn out? I know we got to go.
Oh, Chef, that pork butt's one of the better ones I've had. Like I said, I've got a butcher shop 2 blocks from the house now. It's all locally raised pork, beef, and I don't know what all else they have yet, but my only experience of cooking like Cheshire pork has been the stuff I've cooked with you. This pork that they have here is a mixture that contains Duroc. I don't know what
Cheshire, Duroc, and Berkshire.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the exact lineage is of this pork, but it has that look. It's got that deep, dark red color to it. It's one of the best pork butts I've ever cooked. I paid for it. You know, it's not inexpensive meat. It's not the 99-cent sale stuff I get at the grocery store, but there's a distinct difference in the flavor and texture of this pork, and I will buy it again.
John, you know what I like to do with that stuff too is if it's boneless, you cut it into thirds, and then you cook it the exact same way you low and slow a pork butt, but don't worry about wrapping or anything like that. Instead of taking it to the pull apart pork butt, 102, 106, whatever you like, take it to 185. And then slice it 1/4 of an inch thick, and it is spectacular.
Yeah, this one was bone in. Another set of pictures that I got on here tonight that we're not going to get to was a rack of beef plate ribs I bought up there and cooked this week, but we'll look at those later. Ryan Lowry wants to know if you've got posted anywhere the Bloody Mary pork shanks that you did at Atlanta Grill Company last summer.
I'll be honest with you. I've been traveling so much, doing so many crazy dishes. I'm not sure if
was there any part of that braising liquid that wasn't just Bloody Mary mix and vodka?
I think I bulked it up with chicken stock a little bit. So you get your sear in there, and then instead of doing deglaze with red wine with your mirepoix in there, you go in with vodka. And then go in with I had been sponsored by a Bloody Mary mix company for Charleston Wine and Food Festival, so I had an extra case of Bloody Mary mix, and that was the inspiration for that dish. Cheshire pork. I said, well, what can you send me? Well, it ain't going to be any quick cook stuff because that sells to restaurants really quick. But Los, they gave me all these beautiful. And when that collagen breaks down to gelatin and leaches into the braising liquid and it breaks down, something about the vodka, a little bit of chicken stock, and the Bloody Mary mix was just really, really nice. And I smoke seared it. So I put a big old Le Creuset in the grill, a hickory chunk in there, high temp on the bottom. You're getting smoke billowing in, clear smoke, blue smoke, and searing, and then kind of just shutting everything down.
And those shanks would just fall apart when you looked at them. You didn't even have to touch them. I was standing there. Fun. And the aroma off of it was unlike anything else that was cooking that day.
But, North Carolina chefs, restaurant chefs used to really get punched in the nose by the state of North Carolina because you couldn't sell booze before 12 o'clock on a Sunday. Yeah. Well, Sunday brunch is still a great thing. So you had to sneak around and find ways to serve people booze and not get busted by, the law. And so Bloody Mary mussels was always a big thing, and you put,
for what it's worth, I think that law has either changed or it is in the process of changing right now. You're going to be able to get that
brunch bill. The brunch bill came through, and now restaurants can serve before noon.
Yeah. Right. Restaurants can serve, but I don't know if you can buy it.
You can't buy it at an ABC store or
ABC's closed on Sunday.
That's
you can't buy it at all on Sunday, but the restaurants can serve it before noon. I think they can serve it as early as 10 a.m.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Some of my bourbon friends, they get a kick out of the stories I tell them about being able to buy this, that, or the other here in North Carolina. It's a different animal in North Carolina because it's all state controlled. There are 34 states that have some level of state control, but there's only 17 of them that have the same level of control that we have here in North Carolina when it comes to buying spirits that are over. Is it over 18%, Eric? What's the cutoff on that?
I don't know where it is. I know if you want vermouth, you need your own license for vermouth. Then there's fortified wines, and spirits, and then there's beer and wine. So it's a whole litany of mess. But we used to be a brown bag state, and so it's a weird thing. I've been looking at some interesting. See if I can figure out how to do this.
Source one,
single source vodka and sherry oak casks. Now, this is special stuff. It's 40%. Alcohol by volume, but it cooks very well. It's an insane slight, thumb on the top finish, like you would a sherry or a.
Man, I've gotten crazy about flambe. I love that process. And in fact, if I'd have thought about it, I'd have done it with that broccoli that I cooked out here the other day. I might as well. Why not? But that tiny amount of caramelization of sugars you get when you do that's noticeable. It's there in the flavor, and it might have come through on that broccoli. I'm not sure.
If you do a bourbon though, and you get those caramel notes, those vanilla notes, those oak notes, it's the residual sugar brings all that out, and then And then to finish with a little nice kosher salt or like flaky salt right there just amplifies that. It smooths it all out, makes everything all right.
The Fleur de Sel, the Malden sea salt, and I've got some of that Slovenian salt, the Peransky, that I bought. I've lost my source for that. That's not available on Amazon anymore, but it's a very coarse salt that the crystals are cube shaped, and it's very large. I'll have to show you some of that sometime. But
I've never seen it. I've spent some time in Slovenia, but I've never seen that salt.
One of these, one of the girls that's a Kamado Joe user that's from Slovenia is the one that turned me on to that. She's in the Kamado Joe group. I haven't seen her post a whole lot of stuff lately, but I'll show you some pictures of that salt because it's crazy. And I'll have to see. I don't know if there's a U.S. source for it anymore. I'm going to have to look because I was able to buy it on Amazon, but not anymore. And it's expensive. It was $27 or $28 for a pound of that. But it's
we just need some friends there. We can trade. We'll ship back and forth, whatever it might be. Blue jeans, whatever it is. I got a buddy over there, Matesh, who I'm happy to introduce you to. That got me onto some honey wine that his brother makes. They're very artisan folks out there in Slovenia. Beautiful.
Right. But this girl, I think, is the Slovenia border, northern Italy.
Yeah.
I think she may be close to the Italian border because she was showing this this piece of prosciutto that would probably weigh 15 pounds that they're slicing off. Yeah.
Yeah, their pork is insane, and they only use salt. There's no barbecue seasonings and over salts, and it's like, no, we're doing it the way my grandmother showed me how to do it. This is it.
So
it's like,
all right,
I like
it. Chef, I appreciate you coming on with me. You're always welcome. I'd love to have you back more frequently. But what have you got anything just bone shattering coming up? Something exciting coming up in the near future here? What's going on?
I tell you, we got over, KJ's sitting on over 20 recipe videos. I don't know when they're going to release them. I don't understand what that is or get into it, but a lot of videos coming down the line. A lot of fun events in 2024. So I feel like, we kind of took a step away during COVID, obviously, and the year after on doing these kind of independent parties. Well, I think we're gonna jump back into that. So John, I hope you'll join me, not as a sous chef, but as a co-chef on I think meatballs last time. We'll do some fun events together.
Let me know when you're in the area.
Portland is my next event. I've never been. Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna love Portland. Take your umbrella, but you're gonna love Portland.
Yeah, good grilling weather, eh? Let's see what happens. But John, thanks for having me, man, and thanks for popping on last night. Always a pleasure to hang out, and I hope I can get on sooner than later.
And Ryan's asking about the videos, and Ryan, I think he just answered that. He's given them. I think he said last night he had given them north of 20 videos that they've got them. They just they'll decide when they're going to publish them. So,
I don't ask these things. So all good. Yeah, all good things. Well, team, thank you so much, John. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. And tell your oldest daughter I hope she meets her band goal. I posted that and shared it around a little bit. The fundraiser she's doing. So hopefully they make that. I was in the band, so I know what that's like. I know.
What was your instrument?
Well, I started out on the trumpet and then moved up to the baritone. I played brass. Yeah. So
that's awesome. Well,
what does she play?
She's clarinet. She's clarinet. A sixth grader, just moved in there, clarinet, and
she's just getting started in band. I think the band starts with the sixth graders in our school system here. So
that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. All right, Chef. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be in touch.
All right. See you, team. Thank you. Good night.
Thanks a lot. All right. I always love having Eric on.
Oh yeah.
So what else? I think we've got everything. I appreciate everybody coming with us. We had a big crowd. We always get a bigger crowd when I can get Chef Eric here. He attracts. He's more interesting than I am.
Yeah.
So yeah, but he's always got a lot of fun stuff going on, and I like to bounce ideas. I've learned something. I've learned some things that I got some good advice from Chef tonight. So yeah, Ryan, thanks for joining us. And next week, Jeff will be back, and we'll have our heads up on we were going to do a breakfast dish. I'm going to do some sort of breakfast casserole. I don't know what Jeff's planning to do, but I don't know if I'm going to do a frittata or quiche Lorraine or something along those lines. Something. What I would ultimately like to do is I'd like to put together something that can be, yeah, I'd like to put together something that I can prepare the night before and go to the grill with it in the morning. I'm going to do some research and see what I can come up with on that. I got a couple ideas, so awesome. Brian, glad you could be with us.
Yeah, we were so lucky that Eric made it on because I told John, I said, hey, I cooked some stuff this week. Maybe I'll send you some photographs so you guys didn't have to see my cooking. You are lucky.
While we're here, I didn't go into this this set of photos with Chef Eric, but I'll show you some of the roundup photos of the rack of ribs I cooked yesterday. The butcher that I was talking about that's 2 blocks over had a couple of really big fat racks of beef ribs. So I bought one that weighed 4.8 pounds, and I put it in the smoke like I seasoned it the night before, put it in vacuum seal, put it in the smoke yesterday morning, and then I put it in a pan with some onions and some smashed garlic, some chicken stock, some Guinness beer. Set that guy in there. I covered it with foil and put it back in there to let it finish up until it's just jiggly tender. And this is the resulting bit of those beef ribs. And this is once again, I know you guys have heard me say it over and over again, but the beef ribs are my favorite part of the cow. If I had to pick one part of beef that it's all I could ever have, that's the piece I like. I'm still learning something about beef ribs. Let me bring that picture back up. These beef ribs have extra meat on them. It's kind of hard. I don't know if you can see. Tanya, can you see my mouse moving on this picture? I think you can. The bone down here at the bottom, there's this block of meat on the bone, but then there's this fat layer here. There's this fat layer, and then more meat on top of that fat layer. My perfect rack of beef ribs doesn't have this extra meat on top. I like it when this top piece of meat's not there. I know it's extra meat, but I like just this part that's down here next to the bone underneath that fat layer. And sometimes, I don't know, this is something I may discuss with those people up the street and see if I can get them to prepare them this way. But I don't care for this extra piece of meat up here. It's good, it's tender, it's juicy. There's nothing wrong with it. But for me, it's a presentation problem. I don't like having that there. I'd rather not have that, if that makes sense. And I don't know enough about meat to talk intelligently about what that is or what that looks like. I may discuss it with those guys up there. I may print that picture out and take that up there and ask them, can you provide me with this same rack of ribs with that part trimmed off? Or if they can't, I can separate it myself. I can take it off myself, and then I just got to figure out what I'm going to do with that meat. It may become ground pork if I take that off, but I'd rather have that piece off. So anyway, I couldn't hear Tanya because her mic was off.
Yeah, I'm muting it because of the fire alarm.
Okay, that's okay. Guys, I got to shut down. I got to get up there and figure out what's going on with we got a smoke detector that's barking. It's got a dead battery. So until next week, y'all have a good one. We'll see you.